Hello, this is Sunil Sunder Raj with Global Women's Sports Radio. I'm happy to welcome in today NJIT Women's Basketball Assistant Coach Sara Mitchell. Coach Mitchell, thank you so much, for this opportunity and taking some time out to speak to me today.
Of course, happy to be here and love talking to you and seeing all the kids that get to talk to you.
Thank you, Coach Mitchell. We just talked about before we came on the air about unprecedented season, especially here with this COVID-19 pandemic. But
Right.
you guys were able to complete this season, and this was a historic season, for NJIT women's basketball. A new conference in the America East. Again, first conference win, by athletic, program on campus, and
Right.
reaching the America East, conference tournament. You've had some time now to think back on this season. I mean, just initial thoughts. What comes to your mind, Coach Mitchell?
I mean, it was really just a gift to have this season at all. It was a lot of programs got cut, a lot of tournaments got cut. And we were just praying and holding on to some hope to at least be able to compete. So it was really nice to just get our 6 freshmen on the court. We have a really young team.
Yeah.
So it was all about growth and just adversity dealing. Like these kids have really experienced an untraditional year where even if the record book doesn't show, like we had moral victories. We had a lot of victories within our culture and our team, and just how much these kids really love each other and how we grew. And I know that a year like this one is going to translate to the next few years that we have with this group. So even if the wins and losses column showed one thing, I know what we gained this year. And as a coach, it's always reassuring to see the type of kids you're bringing in and how well they're meshing with each other. And that's always the goal.
How was that transition, going from the ASUN to the America East? I had to ask you about that, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we would have had a season if we were in the Sun this year. So the one perk I will say was that sun in January, February, March, but we flew a lot. And again, I feel like the kids who have dealt with the Sun conference felt like the adjustment was so much easier because we weren't on the road and traveling as much as we were. So I think the transition, obviously, geographically, financially, makes so much sense. It happened at the most perfect time it probably could have happened, which I think resulted to us having a season. But it's different when you're flying on a Thursday, playing Friday, flying on a Saturday to play Sunday. Then you wake up at 3 a.m. to fly back for Monday morning class, and that's what our kids did. That were normal routine. Now it's more traditional, like everyone else, like you're getting on the bus after class, you go play a game, then you're coming back home, then you're playing on the weekend, and you have a Sunday off. We never really had that type of routine. So it was major adjustment, but it was nice that the freshmen really got eased right to a more normal traditional season. And it was nice for our upperclassmen that they had a easier transition academically, especially with the pandemic starting, for sure.
Yeah. How about this training, for a season? Again, can you talk about that? I mean, very different, of course, from years past, Coach Mitchell, but, what was that, like for you and the rest of the coaching staff?
Yeah, it was very different. I can tell you right now, September was a lot of work. We started off just having individuals because that's all we could do. So every 48 hours, we were granted 2 kids or 2 baskets or a partner workout or, a rebounder. And it's like the things you take for granted are ridiculous sometimes. But I remember having 4 workouts back to back from like 9 a.m. to 12 o'clock. And that was like 4 weeks straight. So it was very different to start off. Luckily in August and September, it's still hot. So they were able to do some workouts outside. But luckily, we had to go into units and then only like roommates could partner workout. There were and I will definitely applaud the administration and everything NJIT has done because we were able to really have a smooth transition into every stage, which I think once we got to finally take our masks off and have a 5-on-5 matchup, it was like the biggest, most rewarding thing ever.
Yeah.
But that's also because those kids really did everything they were supposed to do to lead up to that point. And like I said, those victories, like they really meant a lot throughout the year.
Yeah, no, it's so commendable. I mean, these players, I mean, said what they had to endure, said the whole season long, and the fact
Yeah.
that, they weren't shut down. I mean, they, said they were able to escape that. I had to ask you, first game you guys played, and then, of the season, and then that first first conference game, excuse me. I mean,
Yep.
that must have been just, I mean, you know, just some great times, just, feeling like, look, we're taking the basketball court here, playing an actual game against an opponent here. I mean, that just must have been really special, for you and, the rest of the coaching staff and team, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, believe it or not, athletics is a lot internal. That self-motivation, that fire up energy. Both teams are equally prepared, you would think. But then it really sometimes comes down to what fires you up. And I think like making that history of like receiving that first win in the America East, it really did something to those girls. Like their energy was different. And sometimes you need that. You need like some sort of emotional or intangible push, because physically they're ready, but like mentally and emotionally, that's the part of coaching where sometimes you have to find a way to get these kids going in a different way. And I saw it in their face that entire game. I was like, whoa, these kids are ready today, and then some of the youth kicks in where you don't realize you got to find that internal push every single game. But it was so much fun. I mean, we were fired up. We were happy. Our young squad, was out there playing really hard. And sometimes like that's all you want as a coach, just your best effort. And then the result, sometimes you lose and you can feel good about it. Sometimes you win and you don't feel good about it, but we won and we felt amazing. And then we had so much love on top of that. So it was definitely a memorable experience for sure.
I mean, this was a rigorous schedule, Coach Mitchell. Back-to-back games on the weekends, Saturdays, Sundays. I mean, you elaborated on the travel, and I mean but I mean this is rough for these kids. I mean, the fact that those back-to-backs are not easy, and can you just talk about how demanding that was, and just for these kids to be able to overcome that hurdle.
Yeah, I made jokes that it's probably easier for the younger kids because they're just getting out of AAU. So they probably know how to play 4 games in a day.
Yeah.
So they don't even realize how much they've actually done before college basketball. So again, the mental mind of like, guys, like you've done this. You guys have trained 4 hours in a row. We're practicing. Sometimes you have to remind them like we're practicing 2 hours every day. The game is 40 minutes and no one really plays a full 40 minutes. So you can do that. It's just the effort. Can you come in and play really hard for the minutes that you're put in? Was it different and challenging? Of course. But I think that once again, when things go back to normal and we have a normal routine, this is something we'll talk about. I'm like, guys, you played back-to-back games. Now you got some time in between. There's no more excuses. So I think this can work in the favor of our years to come, as far as how prepared and how much adversity these girls really got to overcome over the year.
I didn't want to skip over it, that you also had a new director of basketball operations, and Anissa Sanchez. That was huge for this program. Can you just talk about Anissa and just say what she was able to do this past season as well, Coach?
Yeah, no, I love Anissa. She is. I've known her before NJIT. I was rooting for her. I wanted her to get this position. I knew exactly what she was capable of. It took me one conversation and we all knew it, so she's a different breed. She's dedicated, she cares. And, sometimes to start a career, all you need is passion. And that's what I see in her. And she has that passion and that care and that real compassionate trait that you want in a coach. And I foresee her to do a lot of great things in her future to come. I don't think she'll be a director of ops very long, and I hope that her experience here can mold her into that future position, that will probably present itself at some point.
Just talking about the 2020-21 season, is that conference tournament game against UMass Lowell. I mean, it's always tough, to lose that final game of the season. But I mean, for this program, we talked about how young this team is, and it is built, now here for the future. But I mean, the fact that this team, again, you talk about competed, and all 40 minutes, but the fact is that to see what they were able to again achieve. I mean, how gratifying was that, Coach Mitchell?
It's great. I mean, we, as untraditional as this season was, they really got to go through a season. It was hard for us to go into a tournament game after only playing one game, like in the last 30 days before that. But again, we got to focus on ourselves a little bit more. It wasn't the traditional scout prep. It wasn't the traditional having days to prep. But we still got a playoff game, and like, we never took that for granted. We were ready to play. We were hanging on really tight for a while. And then I think maybe Lowell's experience just kind of outshined in the end stretch there. But again, like, nothing beats that experience. And I know that next year, like, it'll be different. We can reflect and we can look back, and growth is really all we care about with a young team like this. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I wanted to switch course to head coach Mike Lane, assistant coaches Aaron Gratch, Latanya Watson. Can you just talk about, I mean, these last couple of years, working with them, especially Coach Lane, and just, again, how that has panned out, just to see, again, went through some, difficult years, but again, here now, being able to, taste, some success and, again, build upon that. But can you just talk about, this coaching staff led by head coach Mike Lane?
yeah, no, Coach Lane is awesome. I mean, we had my first phone interview, and he probably forgot at this point, but we talked for 45 minutes, and he's just a relatable guy. He's a human. He's a person before he's anything else, and like that, I appreciated that. The relationship I have with Coach Lane outside of like boss and employee is different. I've never experienced to that degree where I was that close and like had that relationship with my boss, and he welcomes that. He welcomes conversations. He welcomes, being authentic, being yourself. And from the first phone conversation, I knew, besides the opportunity in a job market, I need to work for somebody that I actually like, so that's really important for your own, sanity at a job. Yeah. And then I interviewed here, and I think I got there at like 10 a.m. and I didn't leave until 4. We were talking basketball nonstop. We just immediately clicked. We had the same vision. I did not know him prior to the interview, which was great. It was all like just really naturally bloomed. And I want this story for him as much as I want it for NJIT. Yeah. And like, those are the people that you want to be surrounded with, that want the success story as equal as the person who's running NJIT, the president, the AD, the head coach, the assistants, and the team. And when you have a dynamic where everyone has a common goal and you're good people and you care for each other, I believe that just like results to greatness. And I think you have to visualize that. And a lot of things that he said in my interview with him, I really was like, I gotta get this job. I want to make this happen with him. So I just sold my vision for this with him, and I'm still here. This is where I want to be and make it happen. And I'm just really excited that we can work towards that collectively.
So take everyone behind the scenes, practices, in-game action. I had to ask you about that, what those moments are like. You've wrapped up your third season here at NJIT. I'm just, what are those moments like, for you? Those interactions.
In the games or in the office?
Yeah, practices, games. I mean, all the training. I mean, it's just, if you could, take people behind that curtain, just what that is, been for you, like for you.
Yeah, I think what people see, and this is what we tell our girls all the time, people only see what you present on game time. They don't see what you do behind the scenes, all the team bonding, the conversations, the laughters, the tears, vulnerability, and just like really getting to know each other as human beings. We try to really overcoach because like that's what the kids deserve. They deserve the best coaches that care about them overall as people, as athletes, and as students. And like, this place is very unique in that balance of student athlete. You know, we have to recruit a certain type of kid who wants to be part of that turning around story, who was a good academic kid and who can play here. So we do cover a lot more than just what game time, you know, presents, but we really do have a lot of fun and we all really get along. We are a fun group to be around, at least I think so. And I think that shows. I will say, as a recruiter who talks to recruits all the time, one thing that people always say when they leave a visit, once upon a time when visits were normal, is that it feels like a family, and like, you can't fake that. It's not like I tell my kids, hey guys, act like you're getting along today. You know, like, it just shows, and it shows with us, and there's nothing more that you want than that. And like, that's natural. You can't really build that, you know, you just kind of have that morale and that connection and that love, and then you really get to put the basketball as a cherry on top, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think one perfect example is honoring Ellen Stoll. I think that when you look back at the season, and like, you know, because especially you couldn't have that traditional, ceremony, you know, honoring, you know, your seniors, and her being, you know, the sole senior, you know, the fact that they were able to do that instead of practice, and, you know, with their teammates and, you know, coaching staff and family. That was just, can you talk about that more? I had to ask you about that, Coach Mitchell.
No, and like, that literally came from everyone's own desire and heart. You know, we didn't have to do that, but we wanted to do something for her. And it started off with everyone being on top, you know, like the kids wanted to get behind the camera. Our SID department was all over getting the family involved. I did outreach with the family. Coach Lane did it. You know, they did a phenomenal job of honoring them. We didn't even have to ask them to do that, you know, but that just explains what type of place this is. Like you said, I was like, wow, we get to do this for her. You know, we have this whole setup in the gym for her. And it was really nice to see that I didn't even have to beg for that. Like, people just did it on their own. And like, that really describes the quality of people we have here. And that's what attracts me to this place so much. So I'm really lucky.
You know, you talked about the student athlete. Another name that comes to mind, you know, just looking at the website, is the Director of Learning Center, Sandra Taylor. And I think that's just as important. And then you, you know, mentioned, you know, Athletic Director, you know, Lenny Kaplan, and, you know, said that the rest of the athletic department and the administration, I mean, it just, you know, it takes an entire village really to, you know, make the program succeed. Can you just talk about that, Coach Mitchell?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no NJIT women's basketball without any of these people, you know, and this is actually funny you mentioned, it's a recruiting pitch of mine. I'm like, I really just get to coach you in basketball. We have Sandra who works with you to get you that academic future path. We have SID who puts you in the light all the time. You know, we have Lenny who cares about basketball as much as we do. You know, he's brought NJIT to where it's at today. Like, it's remarkable. You know, we have athletic training, we have strength and conditioning. Like, there's so many different branches that people probably, again, they see the 2-hour game time, but they don't really realize how many people are behind that. And it takes an army. And we have some of the best people here working that are really, and they're excited, you know, like, they're constantly, man, you guys have awesome kids. We love working with these kids. They're always in study hall. Like, and again, like, I get to just coach them in basketball because I know they're taking off, you know, they're taken care of in the AT room, they're taken off in their training, they're taken care of in the learning center with Sandra, you know, and like, that's a good feeling. It's like, it's nice to know that these kids have people that really look out for them. And that's what we tell our parents that we recruit all the time too, that there is a path laid out here for them. And that's important, you know, for a student and a person going into the world after that.
So you're right behind you. You're at the Wellness and Event Center, aka the WEC. I mean, you talk about one of the best facilities. I think, you know, not only here in the state of New Jersey, but I think, you know, maybe in the, you know, Northeast, you could say it, across the country. Can you? I mean, that's the difference maker. And I know it was tough this past season with no, you know, fans in the stands for the games, but talk about, you know, not only the court itself, but the weight training, you know, said the other amenities. I mean, that really is just, you know, can you talk about how magnificent that is, Coach Mitchell?
I didn't even know this place existed. Like, it was absurd. I literally visited, and I pinch myself every game day. I mean, the amount of work and details that are in this arena, it's amazing. NJIT being a tech school, we're going to have the top notch, technology, which is also bragging rights. We have 2 pools, we have an in-water treadmill, we have 2 practice courts, we have an arena that's the nicest thing I've ever coached on. We have this outdoor field. Like, there's so much to appreciate about this arena, that it's a huge part of who we are and what we get to give our recruits coming in here. And it's so nice to see how much they appreciate it, and how lucky we are. They say it all the time. They're like, wow, we really have a really nice gym, and like a kid like Ellen Stoll will know what it was like before. So she definitely never takes it for granted. But it's really awesome to play here. It's a beautiful arena. I mean, Lenny's really got it going with this thing. So I'm just happy to be able to coach games here. And it literally still makes me feel like an athlete sometimes.
How was that first season for you? Do you still think back to that, and just what those memories were for you, Coach Mitchell?
Yeah, for sure. I was a young coach in this, field. I started at 22. I started at NYU at the Division III level, which, if anybody knows the UAA, it's very much Division I operated. It's a very competitive conference. Then going into Division II after that, that's always its own experience. And I always had this goal in my mind, like, be a Division I assistant before you turn 30. Like, that is the only goal I ever had in my life. So I really wanted all divisions under my belt. And when it finally happened, and then I was presented with this arena, I was like, wow, the world really has a way of working things out. And I think, like, that's the funny thing about life. Like, you don't always know what's next, but if you work really hard at where you're at in the moment, life will present its opportunities to you. So my first year, like, I still pinch myself at year 3, to be honest. I never take things for granted. I'm always appreciative, but I was definitely a little starstruck my year 1 here. I'm like, wow, Division I basketball, like, we travel, we fly, we're kind of a big deal, So it was like, it was really fun to just like have that experience and then soak it in, and then, all right, now let's get to work, but I still really, like, I'm very appreciative of just being here, and it still feels like year 1 every single year, to be honest. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say about the ASUN, is that you get to fly to different states, meet other people from the programs, the teams that or the universities that you're going to play. I mean, that's something that you carry for the rest of your life, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a great experience. We got to play at West Virginia. We went to Colorado. We went to Air Force. Next year, I think we're going to play Marquette, like in Wisconsin. We're getting to play in all kinds of different states. And, these kids at some point in their lives are going to look back and think like, wow, I really did have an awesome 4 years, and I really got to experience so much. And that's what you want. You always take away those memories. So it's awesome.
What's so impressive, your previous job, before you came to NJIT, you were at STAC, St. Thomas Aquinas College. And I had to ask you that you really put everything together. You had so many responsibilities there: recruiting coordinators, scouting reports, promoting and working clinics, and player development. And that's player development stood out to me because, you want to talk about the entire team, but you take, for example, Lizzie Litwinko, what she was able to accomplish. I mean, freshman year, named, rookie of the week, several times. But just wanted to ask you, be able to, again, multitask, at that, at St. Thomas Aquinas College, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, I actually make a joke of this. When I got to this level here, I was like, wow, we actually split scouting reports. We split position groups. I'm like, so I don't do all of it? It was really funny. And I was like shocked at like the split responsibilities. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this is what happens here. But so like I was responsible for a lot at STAC, but once again, like that adversity and that experience prepared me for this. Now I know how to multitask. Now I know how to tackle different things at once. And like, not that I'm saying the responsibilities are less, but there's more here, so Player development is huge. We had a historic year at St. Thomas Aquinas, which was a huge reward to what we were able to do at that program with that team. And I would say that has prepared me for this role, you know, for these type of kids who are just a little bit different, you know, in their academic goals or maybe in their athletic goals. But they want it. They want this here, you know, this is what they sign up for and this is what they want and this is what they're 100% dedicated to. So when a kid like Lizzie Litwinko comes around, she's like the golden athlete, you know, always wants to be in a gym, always wants to do the right thing, phenomenal human being. And like, those are the type of people we love to coach because that makes the experience just like that much better. So it's a lot of fun to work here. And sometimes I'll be honest, like they say the goal is to feel like you're never working. And it's a very cliche statement, but it is really true. You know, I get to be on the court with some of my favorite human beings and get to coach them and train them in basketball. You know, there's nothing better than that. So all of that, all of my experiences just have prepared me for these kids that need me here. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the success at St. Thomas Aquinas College. How about NYU? I mean, reaching the NCAA tournament. I mean, you know, winning tournament titles. I mean, that, you know, being ranked, you know, I think in the top 25, you know, USA Today and women's, you know, basketball coaches poll. I mean, those were some, you know, I mean, outstanding years. You know, especially it must have been really cool. I mean, you know, to be a part of those, you know, teams and the coaching staff there. Can you talk about that, Coach Mitchell?
Yeah, NYU was awesome. I mean, again, don't let Division III fool you. There's a lot of work behind the scenes. NYU was the best thing that ever could have happened to me out of college. Lauren Hall Gregory was the head coach at that time. She took a chance on a young 22-year-old, and she changed my life. You know, she took a chance. I came in. I was able to do my master's program while coach. You know, it doesn't work out like that for everyone. And I was just really fortunate to work for two amazing head coaches before NJIT. They have taught me everything and then some, you know, and NYU really prepared me for that St. Thomas Aquinas experience, you know, where at NYU I was 22, 23, just kind of like learning and understanding, while at Stack, it was like, all right, here you go, you know, and then I had to like really figure it out hands-on. And Kim Lusk at that position trusted me and we were able to do something amazing that second year. I could not have like written out a better path than the one I had. And I know I worked really hard, but I also knew that the people that took me in really like, they were great role models. You know, I worked with successful programs, strong women. They were awesome leaders, amazing people, and they kept molding me into this person I am today, which then made me excited for a new challenge, you know, as far as rebuilding, you know, working for Coach Lane. Like it's different, but that's who I am. I always take on to the next challenge. As long as I work with the right people, I think a lot of great things are always to come. So I was really fortunate. And again, like, I think it's going to happen here too.
And I wanted to take it back to when you were in college at King
Man.
University. I had to ask you because you know what? Not only, you know, you played on the basketball team, but your Bachelor of Arts degree was in sports management and minor in coaching. So to give you know, everyone a preview of what you were going to be doing, I mean, right there.
Funny, I'm telling you, it's funny how life works out. I mean, if there was a coaching major, I'm sure every athlete would do it. You know, I saw the coaching minor and I always knew I had this like desire to train and help and impact. I used to actually train my teammates while I was on the team. You know, it was really weird. Yeah. Like, hey, can you like show me some drills? I'm like, what? You know, okay, sure, let's go work out. Yeah. I unfortunately had back-to-back ACL injuries that kind of ended my playing career, which then why I say NYU kind of was the best thing that happened to me right out of college. So it's a blessing in disguise. I couldn't play, but like, life just kind of said, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Let's go that way. So the calling, you know, knocked at my door, and I took all my experiences from being on the sideline injured, but also as an athlete, and took it on to my coaching career, which was, again, I would never change that story. would I want to tear my ACLs again? No. But I think it really does shape people for a great success story at some point.
I'm sure it's something you can, if you've seen players go down with, these type of injuries, something that you can, relate to and be able to offer your experience on that as
Yeah.
well, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing in disguise. I get to relate to these girls. I know exactly what they need. I know exactly what they're going to go through. I've been through it 3 times, so there's nothing that I don't know. So just to be able to be that emotional support for them, whether that's going to doctor's appointments or laying out plans or just crying and being angry, like sometimes like the process is so much more emotional than it is physical. And I think if I can help take care of the mental aspect a little bit more, then these kids are going to be fine. And I've had plenty of experiences as a coach with players that went down. And, I just want to be that coach for them that I wished I had when I was going through these injuries. So I'm just grateful to be able to help them through my experience. I always believe things happen for a reason and there's some positivity to take out of everything. So again, like I'm just grateful that they can trust me and rely on me to be there and help them in any way.
I have one more about your playing days. Of course, can't forget, looking at the notes, played one season at the Global Institute of Technology in Manhattan. You led the National Junior Association in scoring, and were an academic All-American. I mean, really to put it together, not only both academically but athletically. How good of a feeling was that for you, Coach Mitchell?
Yeah, I was raised right, so I'm not sure if but I moved here from Germany when I was 13. So my parents just kind of took a chance on giving me the life that they wanted me to have, as a basketball player. So when I moved here at 13, it's all I had, basketball and academics. And I wanted to reward them back for their sacrifices and give them everything in my best, whether, I wanted to be valedictorian, I did that. I wanted to lead the nation, I did that. And little do they know I did all of those things to make them proud, because I know just how much they gave up for me. So being my best version of myself was always what I wanted to be. If that meant being number one, then I'll take it, but I know that everything I am is because of that initial move. So I'm just grateful to make them proud throughout, my career as a player and as a student and now, as an adult.
That was going to be one of my final questions, asking you, support from your family, but I'm glad that, you were able to, tell everyone that story. That's wonderful. Just wanted to switch to the game of women's basketball, how it's evolved, how it's changed over the years. Get your perspective on the sport, where from when you played and now of course coaching, and where do you see maybe the game going from this point forward, Coach Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an upscale for sure. I think that we're in this movement of just like promoting women a little bit more. People are more comfortable with their voices. We have people like you who put us out there all the time. So I think if we collectively keep voicing our opinions and just making noise for ourselves, I think it'll keep striving upward. I don't think we're at the place that anyone's really 100% happy yet. But I also know like we can only control so much of it. And I think that we're going towards the right direction. I don't know. I feel like we can speed it up probably a little bit more. But again, we're athletes, we want to be respected as athletes. We're females, but like we're in the same boat as every other athlete. So I think as long as these young women feel empowered through their voices and with the role models that they can look at, it'll just continue to rise, and the more we come together collectively and have support systems from all over the world, then I don't see that, going in a wrong direction anytime soon. But I'm liking where things are going. And I think that this movement of recent and everything allows people to really just be more confident in their voices. And I see it with my kids now too. I'm really proud of them and everything that they've done in the past few, 2 years, 1 year. So it's just nice to see that everything is like going in a positive direction. So
Yeah, I know how much, of course, we talk about sports and politics, how much, the social justice, that really played, and that was, definitely right up there. That was the number one, topic, that it was good to see, like, the conference, and then of course, the
Yep.
players as well, take charge on that as well, Coach Mitchell.
Yep, yep. And it's awesome to have administrators that, promote that and want
Hmm.
that. We haven't had any experience where somebody hushed us, so we have a lot of different kids on our team. So for them to all feel like they can be themselves and voice their opinions, whether that's tweeting or posting or going out, it was always supported, and like to have the head coach and the administration and the institution and the conference and all those people support that. um, it's just it's nice from my perspective to see how it makes those kids feel and how safe they feel in doing so. So again, like non-traditional year, but I think the growth that was occurring internally was the biggest victory of it all.
Yeah. Final question is, what your advice is for younger women, who want, to break into the coaching ranks. That's one thing that popped into my head, and I was like, what I think is important, that what I mean, now you've had a number of years under your belt, like, what,
Mhm.
your message would be, to younger women.
Yeah, I mean, I think life is 50-50. So it's 50% of like really hard you work. And then the other 50% is those opportunities that come with it. I was never in a situation where things were handed to me. I had to work really, really hard, and life rewarded me that way. I didn't know people. I barely knew English when I moved here, so it was like I
Yeah.
always had to work a little bit extra harder. Um, and that's what got me to where I am today. I think being a good person goes a long way. Working really hard in your present moment and mastering your tasks on a day-to-day basis, because sometimes we can get carried away with what we want next, and then we don't really focus on what we have to do today. So I think if my biggest advice, whether you're an athlete or you want to coach, just work really, really hard. That life has no other excuse but to reward you, because hard work really does get rewarded. It doesn't always come easy. It comes with a few no's. I didn't have all of my jobs because I got yeses all over. I had to get smacked in the face a few times, but that's what shapes you. That doesn't mean you stop. And then as you gain your experiences, start coming out of your shell, meet people, talk to people, put yourself out there. I think social media now is a huge thing, building that resume on your social media. But I'm a firm believer in just working really hard and being the best version of yourself. And then things come out of that. So it's worked for me at least.
What, I almost missed this. What makes the game of basketball so special for you, and to coach it? And even if you want to talk about your playing days, but just I didn't want to leave that out, Coach Mitchell.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously my favorite sport in the
Yeah.
world. It's the best sport in the world. Just
Did you play any other
joking.
sports when you were growing
Uh,
up? I was just wondering.
well, I did, but
Yeah.
I think like passion is a huge
Yeah.
factor in your athletic success.
Mhm.
So I think like basketball has the ability to like make you express yourself in a different way, like whether you are a quiet child, whether you are loud, whether you are aggressive or soft, whatever your characteristic traits are. When you're playing basketball, you're getting it to express yourself in a different way. It puts you in the light where you might not know how to be when you're outside of the court. So I think it really gives you an opportunity to figure out who you are as a person too. Obviously, being in the sport with 15 other girls is the best experience you can ever have, because you build lifelong relationships and a sisterhood. But I just think the game of basketball, at least from my experience, gives you an opportunity to find out who you are as a person, as an athlete, and it rewards you. These kids are going to school on scholarships because they played basketball, and now they have a degree that sets them up for the rest of their life. So I just think the sport is the cherry on top, but like everything that comes around it, you don't realize how much the sport does for you until you're like you know, in your older ages, or you go through an injury, or you have a pandemic and it takes it, you know, away from you. I didn't know who I was for like 6 months last year. Like, what am I doing? I'm not training. I'm not doing anything. So I think it's just like, it just becomes part of your identity because it literally takes you through your life. And it's beautiful because it's passion, and all we want in life is to do something we're passionate about. So it's really nice to have that common passion with all of these other people that are surrounded by me every day.
That's great. All right, Coach Mitchell, the floor is yours. If I've left anything out, you're more than happy to add. I hope I've asked all the questions.
No, I think you know my entire life now. No, I mean, I hope, you know, we keep this going. I appreciate everything you do for athletics, and especially for my team. They've always enjoyed talking to you. I'm happy to help any type of way to put any type of noise out into the world. So just from our angle, from the coach's side, we appreciate what you're doing. And I'm just grateful to be here and tell you about Coach Mitchell now. So
thank you so much, Coach Mitchell. Congratulations again on all your success. And, you know, again, you're now heading into your 4th year there at NJIT, and looking forward to this upcoming season.
I appreciate that.